Why is my camera not on? Hold on, my camera just... Did I kick out the power adapter? Hold on. What the hell, Melvin? Hold on. Let me, Where did I kick out the power? Oh, there's the power. I must have kicked it out.
Travis doing what he does best, kicking out the power. That's right. This is the Gargcast 2020 edition.
What the hell's going on? Oh, that's plugged in there. And then... what happened? I'm so confused. It literally was working 2 seconds ago. What the hell is going on? Damn it, which cable is it? I have so many cables back here. How is it the thing was working just 2 seconds ago, and now it doesn't work? Wait, hold on. Plugged it in. See if we can power it on. There we go. Okay. Now it's on. And oh! Hey-o!
Heyo.
Hey-o. How goes?
Back at it again.
Back at it one more time.
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's going on, everybody? Power's gone again. Oop. What up? What up, buttercups? Okay, well, yeah, we can get started. We don't have to wait. We're 2 hours late, and I'll explain why. Right after this, yes? Question mark? Okay. Of course, we're going to say space travel. Of course, we are, Rashad. Don't worry about it. Coming up. All right,
we'll see. You know, there might be some legal issues.
using
The likeness of a certain individual.
Oh, geez. All right, ready? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, record.
Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Hello, world. Welcome to the best podcast for technology, the Gadget Cast. My name is Gregory McFadden, joined always with my co-host, Travis M.C.
Space travel.
I just say space travel.
That's right. You just say it. You just say it. What is going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a great old weekend. Space travel.
It is Halloween, which I completely forgot about because I'm not...
Yes.
10 years old, and I was like
thinking
about it today, and I was like, oh, it's Halloween today. I wonder, do people watch a podcast on Halloween, or is that just like, you know, I guess people have children, you know, maybe they're out with their kids doing like trick-or-treating or stuff. But I feel like trick-or-treating, I feel like that's like a dead thing. I feel like people don't do that as much anymore. Right? Do people still trick or treat in your area? Like, I feel like it's not as popular as it once was.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in my neighborhood. I don't like this time of year because I hate people knocking on my door. But right down the street, one of my churches is doing trunk or treat, which is something I had never heard of before I moved here. But I guess that's where there's cars and the trunks are open, and that's where they come and they go to a big parking lot and do trick or treating.
It's like a safer environment, maybe, I guess, than going to home.
I think at this point it probably is the better bet.
As a kid, it's like you go to people's homes and they give you free candy, and you're like, oh my gosh, free candy, it's great. As an adult, you kind of realize you can skip all that hassle for like $15 and get all the candy you want that you probably shouldn't be eating. So it's a lot less exciting.
And the exact candy you want rather than some of the stuff you throw away.
Yeah, you're not picking through. I don't know about you, Travis, but when I was younger and did trick-or-treating, you'd always go to like the people who had a lot of money because they give you like the big candy bars, and you'd actually make a plan to hit those homes up. And it was true. They gave out better candy. It was a thing.
I remember the last year I went trick-or-treating, believe it or not, I can actually remember that. But the reason I remember it is because I went someplace I'd never been before. Some friends or whatever told me to go because it was the kind of upper echelon neighborhood. And that's exactly what happened, man. We made out like geniuses. It was incredible.
Full-size bars.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Like, wow, you guys have so much money. You're giving out full-size bars. Yeah, but Halloween, one of my least favorite holidays, is upon us. But before we get into like I know we're talking about MacBook stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about so one of the reasons we're starting out, for the people who are watching live, the reason we're starting late is because I had to shoot part of a video that's coming out in over a week from now that I'm kind of excited about. It's one of these things that I'm taking a slight financial risk on, hoping to put something out that is compelling by its very nature. I'll probably give more information next week, as it's literally going to take a week to shoot this video. So I'm hoping that it comes out as good as it is in my mind. So I shot the first part of it. It's not too bad. I'm hoping the next part is super dope. So we'll see. But in the last week or so, as I talked about on last week's episode, that I had some kind of health issues, I've really leaned into the health app on the iPhone and Fitness Plus. And I am kind of in love, which is kind of crazy because I feel like as an older guy now, the things that excite me are things that are kind of boring. Like I'm looking at my health stats, getting kind of excited. Last night, I went and got I bought like a home blood pressure thing that also hooks to eye health and everything, because stuff I need to pay attention to. That's what I was doing on a Saturday night. I was taking my blood pressure. I was kind of hyped. I was just excited though, because now I can look at my health app and see so much about what's going on with my health. And it's something that I completely ignored, especially when Apple was initially talking about these features. And I'm just blown away by how good it is. And then Fitness Plus, something again during these presentations I kind of ignored, is really good. And the integration is fantastic. So from anything from my scale to my blood pressure thingy to my Apple Watch, which of course does a whole bunch of stuff as well, to Fitness Plus, I know so much about what's going on in my body now that I feel very educated about my health, which is amazing. So I'm starting to feel like I'm becoming an advocate for Health Plus. And I know you yourself, lost a whole bunch of weight using the Apple Watch alone. This was before Apple Fitness and everything. And before even some of the features that are now available with the Apple Watches. Tell me how that was, because I feel like I have the cheat code compared to what you had. Because what were you doing? Just running around?
Yeah, well, at the start, like I was too fat to run, so I was like walking around a lot, honestly, and just trying to like get like that step goal move ring thing in every day. And yeah, the features that you have today were kind of crude back then in the beginning. And the first Apple Watch especially, they had the fitness stuff there, but they weren't really leaning into the fitness aspect as much. It was more of just kind of like a bonus feature that the watch had. And over the years, as they've kind of realized why people want this watch, they've refined their approach on health and made it much more fitness active, to the point where, yeah, you're right, they literally have a subscription service where you can get all these different trainers and stuff like that. So for the beginning, for me, it was just more of a motivation of like, I would be sitting there, I'd be wearing my Apple Watch, and it would just be like, you barely moved today. It's like, oh, I did? Oh, geez, I guess I did. And it's kind of like this realization of like, you never, I guess like you're kind of like not willing to admit like how unhealthy you kind of are until like you have like the raw data in your face. And you might, I used to think like, oh, I move around all the time. I don't know why I'm fat. I don't get it. And then it's like, you look at the data, it's right there in front of you. And it's like, oh yeah, I just like sat here all day and I took like 1,000 steps. And it's like, all right, that's not a lot. People are taking like 10,000 a day. My move ring was never full. So it's like, okay, I got to switch this up a little bit.
Well, the other thing I've noticed, and again, the integration is just so awesome, is now I'm going to start paying more attention to the Fitness Plus announcements when they do them in the Apple presentations, because before I was just like, okay, next. But I mean, it's really, really good. But I'm now paying attention and wearing my Apple Watch all the time now, because it's now something that's paying attention, or something that I use to kind of monitor my health. Whereas before I wasn't wearing it at all unless I was going somewhere. So I've been wearing it all the time now. I got a solo loop for the first time ever. It's kind of cool, I guess. Got one of these little solo loops, which is kind of neat. The one thing I will say about it is, I don't know if this is something everyone feels, but for the first day or so, it's kind of been pushing against my my skin a little bit. The actual watch, and kind of hurting my wrist a little bit. But if I just shift it a little bit, it's a little bit better. And just in general, like I feel like this is the stuff that I needed when I needed it, because I've lost a lot of weight before and stuff. But my issues now are more about heart related stuff. So being able to have a really good indication of what's going on and being able to share that with my doctor if I need to is so powerful. It's such a dope thing. And in addition to that, iOS 15.1 came out, which added a couple of things, including the ability to have your COVID digital card on your wallet, which I have now, your Apple Wallet, which is dope. And then it also added the availability of something they showed at the last event, where when you're using Apple Fitness Plus, to do it along with someone at the same time virtually using FaceTime with SharePlay and stuff. So SharePlay is now mostly a thing. I would love to talk a little bit about that today, but just in general, I'm finding a new section of the Apple ecosystem that I'm starting to kind of fall in love with, which is really unexpected.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, like how you went from like not wearing the Apple Watch at all unless you like left like your house to the point of where you're like, oh, this is so great. What Fitness Plus classes are you taking that you like so much and that's helping you out?
Right now I'm doing HIIT, only because it was the first thing I saw that said beginner. Although I realized when I did one that was not beginner, I understood that this is maybe a little bit beyond my current energy levels, but I will be farting around with a bunch of different options. I think what I'm going to do is I will mix in some with others. I need to do one tonight because I missed the last 2 days, but is because the second time I did it, again, I chose one that wasn't beginner and my legs were on fire afterwards. And I'm like, okay, I need a day or two to recover because I'm still not in shape yet. But I'm going to do one probably tonight. I don't know which one. The cool thing is there's different, you can filter it by, trainer. And, the other thing is when looking at Fitness Plus, you might think, oh, okay, you get to get a couple of these things and maybe you have 100 or so different options. And what they continually every week come out with new stuff and put it up there. It is a legitimate thing that they're doing, and it is incredible. And considering, like, I need to go ahead and cancel my LA Fitness, and they make it so stupid hard to do that. They make it ridiculously hard to cancel LA Fitness. But for less than that, I have essentially a pseudo personal trainer, because I can see what's going on screen. One of the things they have is a thing called a burn bar on certain exercises. And that is cool. What it is it's a literal real-time visual representation of how you are doing compared to other people who've done that exercise that are in your same age group and weight and all that other stuff. Like, it's anomalized. You can't really see who it is, but it's kind of weighted to your overall fitness level. And I was burning that bar up, baby. I was at the top. I was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it always feels good when you're at the top of the burn bar. I use that all the time too. I like that. And every time you're like falling behind, it's like, no, I don't want to be on last.
Yeah, I had to look it up to see what it was. Yeah, it's dope.
And what's cool too is they allow you, because some people don't like that competition thing and they want to feel a little bit more comfortable. You can turn that off too if you want to. You don't even have to use that. John was asking before, how much did I lose? About 100 pounds, I believe.
Which is a lot. I mean, the most I've ever lost at one time was like 40 something, which was, I looked completely different, I thought.
Yeah, I look really different. I actually saw like a video of me like a day ago, actually. Now that it's strange that we're talking about this. I was like, oh, who's that? That's not me.
I mean, incredible.
Yeah. Are there any of the trainers that you like a lot and have like really connected with to the point where like you'll take one of their classes, but maybe you won't take someone else's classes? Because I found myself like doing that.
Yes, Bakari I like a lot.
Bakari's cool.
Bakari's super cool. I want to take some of the other ones. There's other people on there that look really interesting. I'd like to check. There's like 26 different trainers.
Yeah.
So I have a long way to go. There might be someone that's a better connection for me, but yeah, Bakari, I really dig him. He seems kind of cool.
I think one of the trainers, I think her name was like Bettina, and she was like pregnant like during like the workouts and like outworking me, and I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? These people are monsters.
They even have like Halloween stuff. I mean, it's kind of crazy how good this is. And I wonder like how Apple is doing this. Like, how are they making this? Obviously the $10 a month, which by the way is not that much if you think about it. Stop going to Starbucks one time a month and you've pretty much paid for it. Like, how are they making this work? I assume that they batch film everything and you just got a bunch of videos, but like, what's the future of this? Because I'm liking it so much. To be perfectly honest, they could keep it just the way it is right now and make very little changes over the next year and a half, and I would still be happy. Just because, unlike anything else, your real-time statistics are on the screen. How many calories you're burning, your heart rate. This is something that no one else is doing that I'm aware of, short of like probably some really high-end gyms that you might go to.
And like there's, I think, like Peloton's doing it, but that's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, you got to buy
Yeah.
something that's very expensive, a whole bike,
Yeah.
put it in your home, and it's like very prohibitive to even get started with that. Whereas
Mhm.
this, an Apple Watch, it's a little bit of money, but you can get like an Apple Watch. I mean, you can get a Series 3 for $200 if you really want to start doing this stuff, which isn't a huge commitment. And you could take advantage of all these different health features and stuff. Yeah, I've often wondered that too, like the future of this service, because a lot of people complained at the beginning that the classes were on demand, but I kind of like that it was on demand. And I like that they were easily accessible and you could like start them whenever you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I do think eventually an evolution of this service with SharePlay and stuff like that could be live classes. And I don't know if they would do that as a free charge or if they could even upcharge you on that to do a live class and have all this, have maybe everyone's who's doing the class have like their Apple Watch stats in the thing. I don't know how far people would want to go with that because Apple probably wants to keep a lot of that stuff secret and stuff like that or private. But I could definitely see them doing that eventually. And it's very interesting how it connects with all of Apple's services. I haven't tried out the SharePlay stuff yet. I actually have friends who use this too, and they've said we should do like a SharePlay together. So I should try that out one day and see how that works out. But the integration into Apple services is great too because they play music during the workouts, and if you like any of the music there, it's all listed in the tracks for Apple Music. So the synergy there for like things in like the Apple ecosystem, even with a fitness service, it's kind of unmatched and unrivaled.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget about the fact you can do competitions within Fitness Plus with friends and stuff that you have. And like you were saying, you can literally do, a share play where you and your friend or whatever, multiple people are doing the same thing. So, I mean, listen, Apple has an ecosystem already. And that's actually one of the things that's going to be covered in this big video that I'm working on, is like, how addictive is this? And I find things, this is funny because some of this stuff has been sitting around for a while. And for me to just now be finding it after about 2 years of being kind of in the Apple ecosystem is kind of interesting, because I had no interest in it before, but then a life-changing event has really made me look into it and go, oh, I can actually integrate this in my life and I can really get excited about it. Looking at my health, I look at my health thing quite often now. The health app is fantastic. It's fantastic. I did my EKG this morning just to make sure. And yeah, it's really incredible. So very, very excited about continuing to use this thing and see my trends, my exercise over the last 7 days. You've earned an average of, oh, that's not good. That's not good enough because I didn't do 2 days. My average is low right now. But I took more steps yesterday than the day before, which is great because I went to a little conference. So it's telling me all different types of cool things. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's very hard until it kind of personally impacts you to convey to other people how great this stuff is. And it's Tim Cook once said, they interviewed him and they said, what do you think Apple's greatest contribution will be? And he said, our greatest contribution will be in health.
Yes.
And you look at you look at what they're building with the Apple Watch, you read the stories of of weight loss, the stories of people getting notified of heart issues, the fall detection stories themselves are pretty cool. And you hear about some of these rumored features that they're trying to work on, like blood glucose monitoring and all this stuff. And it really is one of those areas that if they succeed in this area of health, it'll change everything. It'll make everything so much better for the people who need that kind of health monitoring, which is a lot of people. So it's a very interesting area. It might not be the most exciting thing to talk about all the time because people are like, oh, it doesn't affect me. I don't care. But one day it might affect you. And then you'll be like happy that all these advancements have been made. So it's awesome. I like it a lot. And that's why I wear my Apple Watch every day. I never go without it at this point.
So that's been kind of my experience so far with the Apple Watch and Apple Fitness Plus. If you have your own stories, love to hear about them. Go ahead and send us an email or a voicemail to the show. Of course, links in the show notes and such. Now, this past week, we talked a little bit about last week so this was before all the reviews and everything. So last week we had a show the day before reviews and stuff came out, and you've now had your MacBook Pro for a while. And because you didn't have it at the time, I don't think, right?
Yeah.
So now you have. Talk to us about it. Is it as awesome as everyone says it is? Is it mildly interesting? Is it? Can you get the M1 MacBook instead of the M1 Pro, or who is it for? All those things.
It is awesome. It is a great product. It isn't for everyone though, as I'll just say right up front. If you're watching this and you're a casual user, I don't think you should probably spend $2,000 on this product. You should probably go out and get something like a MacBook Air. I think that's more people's speed, and I think more people will find value out of that product. But the M1 Pro and M1 Max MacBook Pros, they do what they need to do. For the past 5 years now, Apple has had these quote unquote pro laptops out there that focus more on consumer features. And that was good for what they were. Like, I like those laptops in some aspects for what they were. They were like the slimmest pro laptops you could buy. They looked really nice. But then they sacrificed in other areas. They took away ports. A lot of the MacBooks on Intel, especially as Intel started to increase the core count on chips in later years, started to thermal throttle, so they had performance issues. And Apple in general, desktop or laptop, no matter what generation you're looking at, no matter where you span the history of these products, have always never delivered in graphics performance. They've always been pretty behind in graphics performance when you compared them against Windows laptops. And now we are in this completely different chip architecture where I think, yes, you're getting a little bit faster CPU if you compare it to the M1s. But I think the real story for these chips especially is their graphics capabilities. And that's where it looks like Apple put most of the investment into this. Now, these aren't, I did a video actually, I just released it the other day about gaming on this. These aren't gaming laptops. These are meant for graphically intensive tasks like 3D modeling, maybe some video editing, complex layers, color grading, 8K, like all this like crazy stuff that maybe me or you would never do. That's what these laptops are kind of meant for. And they deliver all this performance to the point where people are comparing them to a $6,000 Mac Pro. And in a lot of areas, it's outscoring these really expensive desktop computers. It's running the chips that Apple has developed for them way more efficiently, to the point where a lot of the tasks that I do on these computers, very much like the M1 MacBooks, the fans don't spin up, they don't get hot. And they're doing like super intensive tasks. Like I was editing in Final Cut. I did a whole Final Cut edit, did the whole export, and the fans didn't turn up once. I felt the bottom of the machine and it was like lukewarm. And I was like, okay, this is impressive, because these are much more powerful chips and they require more energy than the M1 chips. So it is very mind-blowing what Apple has done here, quite frankly, with these chips. It feels like everyone who's gotten these machines, they've pretty much lived up to the hype of the performance. On top of that, because it's not all about performance with these machines, the hardware that Apple has put into these MacBook Pros is the best combination of hardware I've ever seen from them. And I've always felt bad because I primarily use the Mac as my like editing and work. And I would always be jealous of Travis because he would use the iPad, and every year the iPad would always get better stuff hardware wise, I felt like, than the Mac. They would get the better displays. They would get like all this cool technology implemented into them, and always felt like the Mac was kind of like, well, who cares? That's second to us. Well, it finally feels like they aren't neglecting this platform anymore. The displays on these things are tremendous. tremendous. They're like the best displays I've ever seen. They are like OLED level displays. They are so good. And they get the 120 hertz ProMotion. So they're on equal footing with the iPad Pros right now in this hardware aspect. The speakers on them are ridiculous. I can't believe how good they sound. Even on like the smaller 14-inch model, they sound really good. And I think the only thing that maybe you could knock as a negative, and I really don't think it is, but this is what a lot of people seem to be hung up on, is the notch on the MacBook Pro. But I played around with it. It really only cuts into the menu bar. It's just extra space. That's how you got to think about it. If that wasn't there, it would just be, bezel on the top. So at least you got the menu bar taking up that space. There are some oddities with the menu bar. Like if you put like a bunch of items in there, it can cut into it. They probably should fix that in software. It is kind of weird how they even allowed that to happen, but it's fine for now. I think most people don't have that many menu bar. I know I don't. It's usually just a couple icons up there. But yeah, these laptops have lived up to my expectations. I don't want to make it boring, but they're great. They're really good. If you need them, you will love them.
Okay, so well, that's good to know. You don't feel any kind of I don't know. You don't feel bad that you got like the fully spec'd out one. You don't think you got overkill. You didn't overpay for anything. You feel like you got what you paid for, all that sort of jazz. Like everything's legit.
I feel like I got what I paid for. What I got was probably overkill. I'm willing to admit that. I mean, I bought it knowing it would be overkill for me. But I also just wanted to get the best performing laptop and see what I could do with it, see how it incorporated into my workflow. I fully acknowledge that. I would have still probably, I still think this machine would be more for me than the regular M1 Pro. And even though that was fine, there were times where I felt the memory hang up of just having 16 gigabytes of memory, and the alleviation of these machines that you can get configurations with 32 and with 64. And I even put a lot of storage in mine because I was like, I don't want to deal with external storage. If I'm going to use this portably, I want to just go somewhere, edit on the machine. If I have to dump storage later, I can do that later. But when I have to use this portably, I don't want to be hanging stuff off the side of it. But it's really good. I would say my biggest disappointment here, quite frankly, as someone who does play games on their computer sometimes, I would say that it's still just a weakness of the Mac that there's no games here. But the impressive thing is I ran a couple of games through all the Rosetta translation, and it actually performed well. Like we're talking about frame rates and resolutions that kind of compete with some Windows gaming laptops out there. If you're running like a card like a 3060 or a 3070, which is impressive when you consider that not only does the Mac have to do this through a translation layer, but traditionally, if a game was ever ported to Mac, it was always unoptimized to begin with and was always going to run worse compared to its Windows counterpart. So the fact that this chip can kind of brute force it and give you respectable performance is good. Maybe it's not the performance you want for the price you're paying. You would expect flawless performance, but it makes me wonder if Apple will ever do a serious push into AAA gaming. Because I think if you told me before these machines came out that Apple would ever get into this space, I'd say you're crazy, because NVIDIA has the market here and AMD maybe. But with these GPUs, for their first attempt at a pro level GPU, they are beating NVIDIA in some tasks at their best. And they're doing it in a way more thermal efficient design. These are still laptops. I can't even imagine what they're going to do when they're unconstrained in a desktop environment.
That was my next.
And they're on their third and fourth generation of this type of chip. It wouldn't be crazy to see Apple as the GPU leader all of a sudden. And then they, I don't know, in a way it's weird because you list the specs of this MacBook Pro and it kind of sounds like a gaming laptop. High refresh rate display, mini LED display, good graphics performance. It's almost not crazy. I feel like Apple could throw money at developers and say, why don't you make a version for Mac? Why don't you optimize it for this chip? This is the future. This will help you anyway, because in 5 years, maybe all the consoles and everything else is running on this chip, or maybe all the servers where we're going to be doing cloud streaming is running on these chips. I don't know, but it is a possibility at this point. I personally don't think Apple will do it. It feels like they've never had their head in AAA gaming. I don't know what's wrong with the company where this is an area they don't seem to want to tackle. But I feel like they have the hardware to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely the next big place for them because there's a lot of money there. We know Apple loves that cash.
Oh yeah.
So what about the notch? We got a comment here in the chat. Notch is annoying, but you have top notch app to make it the menu bar black. So what is all the things you've been dealing with as far as the notch go? I mean, obviously when you first saw it, you knew it was going to be there. So that wasn't a surprise. But then in your actual day-to-day usage, be honest, has it been an annoyance? Are you kind of okay with it?
It hasn't been an annoyance. And I hate the few people online that say you're lying if you say it isn't an annoyance. It isn't an annoyance. It is not. To me, it is not. I didn't notice it. It's there if you look for it, sure. But most of the time, the screens are big enough to the point I'm looking at something else. I'm not looking at the top center of my screen all day. There's never a time where I'm doing that. I'm looking at a monitor right now. I could look up there and look at a black border if I want to. I'm not doing that. Why am I doing that? Like I said, there are issues with it, with the menu bar. Sometimes if you put too much in there, my menu bar doesn't have that much in it, and it never has. So I don't think I'd run into those issues. But like Nigel said, if you really hate it and disagree with me, it's a Mac. It's not an iPhone. There's so much customization you can do on these computers. You can hide that thing forever and never see it again. You know what I mean? You can use the software to hide it if you really want to. So I think it's fine. If it cut into content, maybe I'd be a little more upset. If I opened up Final Cut and all of a sudden it's cutting into Final Cut and there's something I can't see because of that, or if I did like a full screen video and all of a sudden some of my video is being taken up by that, then I'd be annoying. But the way the aspect ratio works is that just never happens. There's no video that's cutting into that. On an iPhone, it can, right? Sometimes you open up a video and the notch might cut into it or a hole punch might cut into it, depending on the aspect ratio. But that's never going to happen on the 16 by 10, the way they have it laid up, to the point where they have a 16 by 10 aspect ratio for the main display and then a separate one for the menu bar.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is the new norm for a while until Apple feels like the display technology for under-screen front-facing cameras can be more of a mainstream thing, I believe, because it looks like they're just going to skip over the hole punch idea.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever do the. I don't know. Yeah, maybe they'll eventually get to hole punch if they can fit some of the other sensors they have to put there behind the display. But there's a couple arguments behind it of whether it's brand identity. Maybe the next version of the MacBook Pro will have Face ID. There's a bunch of things over it. At the end of the day, it really isn't an annoyance. I think it'd probably be more of an annoyance on an iPhone, to be honest with you. And if you have an iPhone already and you're fine with it, I don't see how you wouldn't be fine with bigger display where there's less chance to even notice it. Yeah. So I like it. I think it was the best design they could have gone with how thin they got the bezels on it. The only thing better might have been a hole punch, but there's a couple other sensors in there too. So I guess that wouldn't be realistic either.
So since you did your, we're gonna jump out of this MacBook talk for a second. Have you still been using the Pixel 6 Pro, or was that a kind of a weekend and done? Are you still using it?
I'm back on my iPhone at this point. I used it for about a week, and then once the MacBooks came in, I just switched back to my iPhone because it's like, well, I'm basically going to be on my MacBook anyway, full time anyway. So I just want everything to work. I need to test my MacBooks as I would if I was normally testing them. So I need to get my messages sent to them. I need to be able to reply and all that stuff. I need it to sync up. I need to airdrop some stuff over. You know what I mean? So I wanted that experience to be pure. But I did have the Pixel 6 in advance for a week before the embargo dropped, and I even took a little bit of extra time working on my video. So. I used it for about a week, which I think that's fine for the use case to do. I didn't even do like a full review on it, but I did my video where I talked a little bit about it and I did a camera comparison. But is there anything you want to know about the Pixel 6? Because there's a lot of controversy regarding the Pixel 6 Pro, which is interesting.
So I've seen. Well, I don't know what the controversy you're talking about is. I just watched a little bit of Chris Perillo talking about it in his, which I thought was interesting. He really expected to be diving into it after the S21 Ultra, and he kind of has said that he thought that while it is great in some areas, it's not universally great enough for him to necessarily jump headfirst into it. You know what I mean? Versus being on his S21 Ultra.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I haven't used the S21 Ultra, so I guess I can't speak to that. But I've seen a lot of people. There's been a lot of like discourse on the Pixel 6 Pro where it really feels like the past two Pixels, people didn't care at all about them. There were no fights about them. So it's very interesting to see that the community's in a big uproar. And I think that has to do with a couple of reviewers not liking the Pixel 6 Pro as much as people thought they would. I know a lot of people are very upset with MKBHD's review of the Pixel 6 Pro, where he said the iPhone camera consistently took shots better. And by the way, this might be the first time in history where I had a video up on a product before Marquez. So that was very interesting. But what that told me, what was interesting about that is I actually got to, all my opinions were formed on my own because I was just using the product. I didn't read anyone else's take on it, so I didn't know what to look for. It was very interesting to me to see his review and discover that we both had similar issues with the camera, where the Pixel 6 Pro is a really good camera. Sometimes it's very inconsistent, though, and it takes bad shots. I was telling Travis about this. The last GadgetCast when we got off, I was telling him, like, Pixel 6 Pro is a good phone, but there's some issues with the camera. Remember I told you about Twitter scrolling being choppy?
That's literally what Chris Perillo was talking about on his video. Yeah.
I saw a bunch of comments like a week after that when I started using them. Like, see, so I'm not crazy. But yeah, the camera's kind of inconsistent to the point where Marquez described it as sometimes you'll get a 7 out of 10 photo. Other times it can take a 10 out of 10 photo. And he said the iPhone usually just always takes a 9 out of 10. It's always a 9 out of 10.
Very consistent.
You know what I mean? Like, it's always consistent. And that's what I found with the Pixel. I was like, you know what? Sometimes, hey, this thing beats the iPhone. Other times it's like, why did it do this? Why did it lift all these shadows up and they lost all the detail? Whereas the iPhone, it's always a usable shot. Maybe it wasn't the best, but it's like, that's really good. And then with the Pixel, sometimes you're blown away. And sometimes you're just like, I wish that came out a little bit better. And that's hard. It's like, what's better? What is better? Camera. And you got to understand that some reviewers, they want the best possible outcome. Other people want the most consistent, always going to give you a good result. And I think for most consumers, that's what they want. They don't want to get the 7 out of 10. They would rather always have the 9 out of 10 to always get a shot of like their kids or something like that.
It's funny you say this because I'm actually going to mention this in my iPhone 13 Pro Max 1 month later kind of review that I'm going to do here shortly, where I felt that way about the 12 Pro Max. So if you look at the 11 Pro Max, 12 Pro Max, 13 Pro Max, easily I can say the 12 Pro Max was my least favorite, mainly because of the camera and the battery life, where the battery life was not as good as the 11 Pro Max. And the camera, for whatever reason, it might have been software, might have been iOS 14, I don't know. There were a couple of times where it felt slightly inconsistent and I stopped trusting it.
Yeah.
Whereas I never had that problem with the 11 Pro Max and I don't have that problem with the 13 Pro Max. So my experience looking back, because I didn't trust it, that means I didn't take as many pictures with it, is that it had a bad camera, even though it didn't necessarily have a bad camera. I just had a couple of bad shots. But that's what I'm used to from Apple is very consistent. I know what I'm going to get, and it was great. So I think the consistency argument is strong for me because humans in general will give something 1 or 2 failures before they lose hope in it. So for example, let's say Apple Pay. Let's just go with Apple Pay. We'll say you go to a register, you want to try your Apple Pay out. For whatever reason, it doesn't work. It could be that the register isn't supported and you didn't know that. It could be that your phone messed up, whatever, right? You're like, oh, okay. Now, you're probably still going to try it at least one more time. It's like, okay, it didn't work that time. You go to another store and it doesn't work again, I would put dollar to donuts, you'll never use it again. After that second failure, like trust in something like technology based falls way hard. The percentage of people that will try it a third time is much lower after that second failure. So same thing with like cameras. You take a couple pictures where it's of not a consistency you're expecting, you start to lose faith in that the next shot you take will be of something that you can rely on. And fair or unfair, that's the way I felt about the 12 Pro Max. And so my memory of it's always going to be was my least favorite iPhone, even though it was not a bad iPhone. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about in my upcoming 13 Pro Max review, to say that, so far it's been solid because I haven't had those experiences. And at this point, I've had enough good experiences that even if I did have a couple of bad experiences in a row, I know that they were just flukes.
Yeah. To add on to that, the classic example of not trusting something is Siri. Siri was so bad that you used it twice and it failed, and you're like, I'm never using this thing again.
Yes.
And most people never touch Siri again, and they don't even know if capabilities have been improved to this. You know what I mean? Like, people are surprised sometimes, and you're like, oh, you could do this now. It's like, what? Oh, you can?
You know what? I actually did a video 2020 or 2019. Does Siri still suck? No one watched it, so I ended up unlisting it. I should probably redo it again because I still think it's an interesting concept. I took what the top 10 things that Siri couldn't do that were complained about in articles when it came out, and asked it, like, however many years later, could it still do it? And weirdly enough, it still couldn't do most of them, which I thought was really interesting. I should probably resurface that video and redo it again. But yes, 100% Siri is like one of the best. That's why I made that video, because I'm like, does Siri still suck? Maybe it doesn't. Like, with all the improvements they've made, it's possible that Siri doesn't suck anymore. And now in 2021, I should probably do that video again. I just hope this time people actually watch it, because I think conceptually, I think it's a really interesting idea. But it's 100% what you're saying. People tried it a couple times, it failed once or twice, and really what it comes down to it is, when does it fail you? Does it fail you early when you're just experimenting with it, or does it fail you later where? And I'll say this. This happened to me a couple times. So there's a couple of my favorite restaurants that I go to, that if I go there and I have a bad meal, it doesn't matter, I'm going back. But if it was there's been one of my favorite restaurants ever that I will never not go to. There was one time I went and everything was just If that had been my first time going there, I would have never gone back. And I would have missed out on how good it actually is. And that's literally the same thing with technology. If the first couple of times are the failure, you can forget about bringing those people back. But if you gain the trust and then eventually someone, something kind of messes up, it's just a fluke. It's the same thing, like for most things in life. Like, the failures need to be further out rather than earlier up.
Yeah, I wish I could remember who was saying this. Your restaurant point. Someone else made the point of, like, as a restaurant, you need to win people over basically the first 3 times they come there. You definitely need to win them over the first time, otherwise they're never coming back. You 100%. Need to win them over the second time, and if you can win them over that third time, you will have a customer for life, because they will always forgive other things that, like, if at any other time that they had it on their first time or their second time or their third time, they would have went, you know what, this restaurant's no good. The other times I went were like a fluke. So it's interesting you bring that up, because it's so true. And yeah, I have that too, where I have favorite restaurants. They mess up every once in a while, but it's like, you know what? I know what they're capable of, so it's all right. I'll be back there another time. Yeah. Pixel 6 Pro, I really do think it is the best. And I kind of wish I got the regular Pixel 6 too, because it is such a good price. But the Pro is definitely the best phone that I have ever used from Google. It is the best Pixel I've ever used. I think it's definitely earns its spot in the lineup. It has some issues like every other phone out there. It's not a perfect phone. And I really think a lot of people are just upset because there was unprecedented hype for this Pixel phone like a month before it came out. And I would see people who didn't have this device and they would go, this is going to be the best phone ever. This is going to do this. This is going to do that. And if you think that before the phone even comes out, you're kind of being foolish, because everything a company says, Apple, Google, Samsung, it's not true until they prove it. They can say whatever they want on stage and that's what reviewers are for. You get the product. Sometimes they tell you a feature that sounds great on stage. You go to use it and it doesn't work, or it's not as great as you thought it would be, or the battery life stinks, or the camera isn't consistent. Like there's all these different things that you kind of have to wait for. And I think, you know, and you talk about this a lot in your videos, people just get so blind to a brand sometimes where it's like, you know, they have so much faith in it that when something goes wrong, they question the integrity of the reviewer. You know what I mean? And that was happening with Marquez, because he said like his battery life wasn't like that great on it. And it's like, why would you question his integrity, especially on something like battery life, where it's like, all right, some battery life's such a variable that it's like, depending on what you do, depending on what your cellular network is, there's a million things that could go wrong with battery life. That you know, Travis could get like 9 hours and I could get like 7 hours, and it's like that's just the nature of the game. So,
by the way, I ran across one of your, I think it was your iPhone mini review, real review, whatever. I don't know how I missed it initially, but I had missed it. And the intro was like, I'm like, what is this hot fire that I'm watching here? What is this?
Oh, really?
Very like kind of incredible, like B-roll heavy with music. And I'm like, what is going on here? What is Greg doing? How? I went for the mini. I went for a different style of video, and I was like, because they made so many video claims about the 13 Pro. So I was like, all right, I'll shoot the whole video on the 13 Pro. I'll try my best to look it as good as I can. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. No, you did a really great job. I was like, hey, holy heck, man, you need to go ahead and do some of my stuff. Looking good. So anyway, that was the Google stuff. We talked about MacBook. I want to real quick talk about some video game stuff, just briefly. We like to talk about video games here and there every so often. A couple things. Number one, I'll talk a little bit about my arcade that I have, and then a little bit about some of these. Well, first, I'm going to start off with some what is it? Grand Theft Auto, Witcher 3, and Cyberpunk 2077. All have next gen or / current gen updates that are supposed to happen this year, but they've all been pushed back to next year. Now, pushing a couple of those are fine with me because my gaming backlog is terrible. Like, I got a gaming backlog. I got Netflix backlog. They got Tiger King 2 about to come out. So, you know, I got to watch that because that's trash television. I love trash television. I don't have enough time for all this stuff. But to push them all back around the same time as each other helps me not. Because at first I'm like, oh, end of the year, they're going to have, listen, I've already beaten GTA, but it doesn't matter. I want to play it with better graphics. I've already beaten Witcher 3. I don't care. I want to play it with better graphics. And I haven't played, 2077 yet, Cyberpunk 2077 yet. So, like all these games, I don't have time for this, Greg. I don't know what to do. I just need to win the lottery and then be done with everything so that I can play these games, son.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I need to do something to play more games. I feel like I should have more time to like enjoy games, and it's just like I never get the chance to like play them as much as I want to. I have games that I have bought with the intention of like playing, and I have literally, they're still in like the plastic shrink wrap, which is crazy to me. That's like, I bought something and I didn't even open it. That is weird.
Oh my gosh. You really just, holy
That's
monkey,
a
man.
backlog. Yeah, I have games that I just like bought, and I just like look at it and like, I don't have time to play it the day it comes out because something happened. And then it just goes on a shelf, and like I discover it like months later, go, I never opened this. I never opened this.
Bro,
it's sad.
That is sad. What is wrong with you? Why would you do that? What game was it? I missed it.
Oh, what is it? I don't even remember.
Oh my gosh.
We'll have to go back and look.
Holy crap.
Go look at my shelf. Maybe I'll tweet out the picture of a game I haven't opened.
Yeah, you should. That's hilarious. And then so for people who watch any of my videos and notice that I have like an arcade behind me, there's actually a couple of games off of that you can't see off to the side. And I have 2 games that'll be released by Arcade 1UP, which are kind of these little arcades you can put in, and I hopefully will be done. The bad thing is, first of all, only one of them is going to be able to fit into the camera shot, so there's no point to have these other ones. And secondarily, one of the games that I want to get, which was a kind of like a childhood favorite, the problem with nostalgia, like nostalgia. I love, like, that's why I go to some of these retro conventions and stuff and all these cool stuff. I was just at a it was some type of con here. It's called King Con. I went with my friend. It was mainly like cosplayers and stuff, but they had a lot of retro stuff there too, which I love, and that's why I watch a lot of retro video game YouTube channels. The problem with nostalgia is, it can cost you a lot of money nowadays, but more importantly, the memory is always better than the reality. So the reason I bring that up is because one of these arcades that I'm going to get is the Tron arcade game. Now, if you haven't been in arcades, if you've never been to an arcade, I mean, there's very few even left. Most of the retro ones. Tron, the movie, I loved both movies and was a huge fan of the game because of the light cycle game. The game is not that awesome. So I got this several $100 device that will come in the next month or so that I've got to find room for in this room, that when I really thought about it, I'm probably never going to play. The main reason that I want to get it, this makes me upset. This is upsetting me as I say this, because I like the look of the cabinet, which I'll share it for the people watching YouTube. Anyone who's listening to the audio podcast, just go on Google and type in Arcade 1-Up Tron, and you'll see it. I'm going to go ahead and share it here with the people watching. I just like the way it looks. And that's a sad thing to say because it's just going to be a piece to look at, which is kind of dumb. And to spend money like that on something like that is also kind of dumb. However, I didn't have to buy a $2,000 laptop to do any type of content for, so I feel okay about spending a couple $100 on this thing right here. Which, if you're watching the YouTube video, it does look cool, right? And I love Tron. I love Tron so much. The light up stick is there. Like,
oh shoot,
the 4 games it comes with are just okay, but like, I want it for completion. Now, having said that, the other game I am getting, I will definitely play the ever living crap out of because I played it so much when I worked in arcades, which is Killer Instinct. I will play the hell out of this game. I will not stop playing. You may not get me on GadgetCast. I'll be playing it so hard. I won't play it. I'm gonna play it so hard. Yeah. So everyday dad saying calling out laptop costs is a low blow, Travis. Yes, of course it is, because I didn't have to pay all that money. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to. Looking at all these things I'm going to add that, realistically I should be able to write off because it's going to go in my my studio, but I probably won't be able to write off because they're not going to be on camera. Well, one of them will be, but one of them's not going to be on camera.
I say you make that, you just open up the camera a little bit, get a little bit of a wider angle, it catches the edge of it, Hey,
that's good enough, right?
That's good enough. It only has to happen one time, Travis.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I suppose you're right. I suppose you're right on that. Okay, so but anyway, one last thing. So this thing, I will give a bit of a hint because this video that I'm doing, that, like I said, it's coming out in a week, and what made us do this live stream so late in the day. It's so the last time I did a video kind of in this mindset was the AirTags video where I put it, which by the way was inspired by a conversation we had on GadgetCast, where I took an AirTag and put it on my friend's truck and then followed him without him knowing. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's on my channel. It's a fun video. It did pretty well, but I had no idea what was going to happen. And that's almost a scary thing when you're making a video, because you're like, this video could turn out to be great or not great, but I have no idea. And I'm in the middle of that. I've already shot the first half of this video that I'm excited about, and I literally have no idea what's going to happen in a week. So I'm spending a lot of time, and I spent a lot of money on this kind of risky-ish type video that the thing I'm okay with is the fact that no matter how it ends, I'm going to be okay with it. But I definitely have a side of it that I hope happens, because I think it just makes for a more interesting story. But if it doesn't, man, I just feel like I spent a lot of time and effort to do something that might have just backfired. If it backfires, it's going to be a painful, slightly expensive lesson in try not to go so far outside my box. But I think a lot of people are going to watch it. We know one of the things that when I was coming up with the idea that I thought about was, what would be a video that I think other creator friends of mine would watch? Because inevitably, like if you're all doing reviews of like the same thing, You know, I know a lot of people don't watch other tech YouTubers videos because they've done the same thing, right? I wanted to do something that no one else in our niche was doing that would be compelling enough for them to at least watch it. And I think this idea is, but again, it could just be a huge train wreck of an idea. So I'll tell you more next week as I will, let's see, by the time we do GadgetCast, will I know the end? I don't think I will. I'll be shooting it that day, but I might have to do it after GadgetCast. But I'm excited about it. It's the first time in a while that I'm excited about a video I'm doing. So hopefully in a week, we'll have something fun to look at. I don't know about you, Greg.
I don't know. I'm just interested in your video now. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm gonna run down the road naked if it goes well. Probably not. All right. Anything else before we put this baby to bed?
I think we said it all, Travis. I think we said it all.
We said it all. We'll do a little bit of an aftercast, which we haven't done in a while. People complain whenever Travis wants to leave again. Well, look, sometimes I have stuff to do. To be honest, I should be shooting that video that I'm talking about right now. But I'm going to spend some time with you. If you are listening to the audio podcast, please leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts and come through the YouTube channel, gadgetcast.com, youtube.com/gadgetcast. Come see us during the live stream. We'd love to see you here. And, we'll do these aftercasts where you can hang and talk to us, and the beforecast where you can come and talk to us. So for Greg, I'm Travis. This is GadgetCast. See you next time. You know what I love about GadgetCast is that I don't have to worry about doing specific stuff.
What do you mean?
Algorithmically happy videos.
Yes.
Talk about whatever the hell I want. I love that.
Sure.
I love that.
That's the best part of the podcast. You talk about whatever you want.
Yes, indeed. Talk about video game stuff that doesn't matter. Irrelevant stuff that would never get clicked.
I was going through like a lot of old footage, and I went through some like old GadgetCast clips that I saved. And we used to be a little bit more crazy.
Really? Like how?
We pulled like a lot of wild stunts on the show.
Well, I mean, we did the iJustine thing, which I had fun.
Yeah.
With that was lots
pretty
of fun.
crazy. I think it peaked with that.
That did peak. That was when we jumped the shark.
That was crazy. Yeah.
We did jump the shark with that. What else did we do?
I mean, we had the whole Willie Do segment, which I thought was pretty crazy in hindsight. Now that I go back and watch that, I thought it was pretty crazy. Yeah, President Greg, that was a good time.
Oh yeah, President Greg.
There's a couple crazy moments on the show. Maybe I gotta bring that back. I don't know.
Oh, President Greg.
We become so tame. We need to bring back the rawness.
We're rated PG now.
Yeah, we're PG. We got to get back to PG-13.
It's funny that I thought about this. We came out of the shoot really hot, man. Like, especially when we're doing YouTube stuff, like we really killed it. Like we grew really fast and everything. Like we did a good job.
Good. We should get Prosser in here. I would like to interview John Prosser. I would like to get an in-depth interview with him. Like an actual interview. And I don't want to sugarcoat it either, despite us being friends. I think we should ask him tough questions.
Yeah.
I think
he'd be up for it.
I know he'd be up for it too. That's the fun part. But there's a lot of questions that people have about John. And I think we did it very early on when John was even less known, if you can believe that, Travis. He was
I know. Actually, that's a good point.
Then. Like if we had him on now, it would be insane because we did have like a very candid interview with him where we were actually asking him really tough questions. And I think it'd be so interesting if people saw it now, considering his space now in this community is outrageous.
So what do I care more about, what you create or you? I think you're asking, do I care more about myself or what I create? I'm not really sure how to even answer that question, to be perfectly honest.
Hold on. What?
Talk about how much you guys love Rihanna. Okay, you should have been costumes. It is Halloween over here. I'm not a Halloween person though. What about you, Greg? Why aren't you wearing Halloween?
I should have worn my Palpatine robes. I don't know.
Oh, you should have actually. That we have. Look, we had call-ins. People joined live. That's true. We used to do all that. What do you guys think? The Pro Mac Mini will be released on to release the old
March.
Intel MacBook?
I think March. That's my answer. That's a good answer.
Greg, do you do any more benchmarks in M1 Pro MX?
You want more?
More benchmarks. More benchmarks.
Yes. More. I don't know. I got a lot of benchmarks. Maybe no more benchmarks, but more content for sure. I think we covered it all for benchmarks.
Oh, we care more about you than. Oh, okay, cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, John is funny. Yeah, we can text him. It's not a bad idea. The uncensored John Prosser interview.
I think it'd be good. There's a lot of stuff we should get rolling up, and it's just that this time of year is always so busy for everyone. But I think there's a lull, and I think we get a lot of people back on the show. I want to kind of. I would like to get some guests we've had on before and some new guests and everything.
Yeah. Let's do that. How many emails have we received? Are you talking about GadgetCast, the channel? I don't know. Do we have any emails?
We need to do like a thing, and I've been trying to figure this out because the email system is really messed up at this point. It is a danger to go through that email because if you put an email publicly available in a feed, every spammer in the world will find it, and it is just a cesspool. So I got to figure out a system where it's like maybe we put an email only in the YouTube thing behind that little thing, which does filter out a lot of that stuff.
Or we just verbally say it.
In GadgetCast. So I think that's what we're gonna have to do. Maybe I'll have that figured out by next week because I do miss that component of the show.
Yeah, I love emails.
It just became so awful, and there were people that actually sent in legitimate emails, but I had to like just go through this whole list, and even Google didn't like filter it out, and I was like, this is nuts. So I just gave up.
Supercast, we should definitely do another Supercast soon. Those were always fun. Cancel Greg, of course. Yes, we haven't really done a lot of Cancel Greg lately. Although Renee kind of canceled and then backtracked on it.
That's what I'm talking about. We had the cancel wars in the early days. We did a lot of zany stuff, So
like OnlyFans can get through. Yeah, exactly.
I think the show. Listen, I'll get.
Have we matured?
Let's get raw with GadgetCast. I think the show matured. And
it did.
Maybe I'm thinking about it. I don't think I want to be the mature show. I think
you might be right.
I think I want to get right about that. What are we talking about? Specs and power. Screw all that stuff. Why don't we talk about the real stuff? Like I don't know.
Like what? I don't know. That's the thing. You're right, though. I guess we have changed. I'm surprised we haven't heard, because typically when stuff like that happens, you hear about it from the listeners or viewers or whatever. Like I know on YouTube, no one's shy about telling you whether you've done something wrong. But so far, I haven't really heard anything about people saying, "Oh, I missed."
Because we're so great. They like us. We could sit here and we could stare at them for hours. We could sell them makeup that reflects blue light, and they buy it. That's how much they love us, Travis.
Oh, you know what I'm going to do though? Something that we need to do more often. I'm going to go through the YouTube comments that we get on GadgetCast, because there are people that come through and watch the GadgetCast after the fact and leave us comments. We never really talk about it. So let me share my screen here.
You know what was a zany moment that wasn't on? It was kind of a GadgetCast moment when we were doing that live stream of Apple. We watched Luke Miani's stream at the same time. We did a live reaction. That was really fun. That was
very GadgetCast.
GadgetCast.
It really was. You're 100% right about that. All right, let's go back here for the iPhone 13 when we did the this was the episode where we did the what's up, Technically T in a house. It's your guys' show. No me gusta. Let's see. Team, no me gusta. Still like you both. What happened? Get off your meds. All right, so we gotta get off our meds apparently. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, I love the tier list. That was cool when we did the tier list. Cinematic mode irrelevant for 80 to 90% of the users. Well, this is true. Okay, no 4K 60. Maybe next year. Yeah, I think that might be more of a 16 for that, whatever. Will's just doing, so Will can't be here live because he's in China, so he does his kind of chats in the comment section. I love that.
Yeah,
I do try to read these. Will's such a supportive guy. Really appreciate you, Will. Thank you so much. Will is just and he always watches after the fact. He always leaves us comments. This is when the iPad everything came out. See, there we go again. Monday's great. Look at that. So sweet. Will, so sweet. There's Sharon. Sharon's in the chat. I kind of want to make up the reflects blue light when I think about it. Oh, makeup, huh? Do we need makeup?
Yeah. Yeah, we could get Gadget Cast makeup. Why not? I think
Sure,
we
why
could
not?
brand and market that. I'll look into that, guys. I think we'll do a Gadget Cast makeup line. Yeah, I think we
What
can
is
make
this? Can I
quite
get
a-
some of that homemade moonshine Greg is always drinking? Or
Let's talk about this. Look at this. He wants what I got.
Yeah,
Which
okay,
is
we'll
just
get
water.
some.
Just a big jug of water because I get thirsty. And it's the biggest container I have for water.
These reviews for Counter on Fridays for 1 week is very reasonable. None of these creators are posting in-depth reviews. It takes time. This is true. I always wait at least a month for upgrading to a new phone. You know what we should do from this point forward is in the podcast, we should read some of these. We should do a segment in the podcast where we read some of these. The replay crew, like we have some replay crew people. You know what I mean? Like we definitely should be reading. Oh, there's Bob. We haven't seen Bob in a while. Where's the latest? Hi, where's the latest episode? It was right there. Oh, why was Google taking off Google Podcast? What do you mean we were taking off?
What? Google
What?
Podcast try to censor the Pixel talk.
Is that right? Are we not on Google Podcasts? That can't be right. I'm gonna have to check that. Is that right? That was 3 weeks ago.
That can't be legitimate. That's a lie.
That's got to be a lie. It can't be true, right? So this was last week. There's my blood pressure. Appreciate that. Man, glad to see Travis back. That's great. Great show, Sharon. Spending time, excess amount of money. Upgrade to 16 power mode. I just love that the people who watch out, Greg, cut your cables. I just love that people are leaving multiple comments as if they were chatting. I love that.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome. So
cool.
keep doing that.
Community. It's a community. We built up a community. It's interesting.
Yeah. So whatever we see in this one, maybe we'll read those. I don't know. We got to read them during the regular Gadget Cast, maybe, huh? That'd be kind of cool.
Should. Yeah,
why not?
Definitely. Yeah, let me see. We got any more podcast reviews? I haven't checked that in a while either. Who knows? Maybe the show has kind of jumped off and people are like, I don't like it anymore. And there's like a bunch of 1 stars. I wouldn't have known. Still a 4.9, not the 5 I want.
Let's see.
No, I don't see any new reviews. Look at this. So sad.
Yeah, you can even see the podcast perform well because we took a couple weeks off, so that has a lot to do with it. Like we were doing a lot of really.
You got a 1 star for being too political.
Did we? When were we political?
Went and got political pleasure right out. Pleasure. Wow.
What?
I think you meant to say pressure. You guys got political pleasure right out of your show. You're at the very bottom of my list, but we're still on the list. That's good. Though. We're still on the list. That's just a different show.
I thought it was all do the news topics you had to cover, which is true, which is actually true, Neil.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we were being silly because there wasn't much else to talk about. Live Q&A. Oh, you mean one whatever go. We'll start. Greg and I will talk about this after we go off the air, and we'll figure out like what we need to do. And if we need to bring certain things back, and put it this way, if you guys and gals enjoy that stuff, that's who it's for. It's not for us. So if you guys and gals are missing that and you really want that back, of course we'll do that again. Of course, we'll make the time. Probably won't be next Sunday though, because I'll have to shoot my video. It probably won't be next Sunday, but the Sunday after for sure. All right. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these other stats, and we kind of like leveled off with episode wise. There was a downturn a while back, and our listens have been kind of on the audio podcast been kind of down. We do a once in tradition. Let's see. Catch cast makeup like what? Ulta.
Yeah, we could be an Ulta. We could be an Ulta. Why not?
Oh, I got the purple. Soundcore Liberty 3 Pros. Freaking awesome. Why did all of that go? Why did all what go away? I don't know what went away.
What went away, Mark? You got to be more
away,
specific. What went away?
Be a specific.
The good looks, they're still here. I still got it. Travis still got it. Travis, very handsome.
Still got it. Man. If Greg can still got it, I can still got it.
Yeah, he still got it.
Everything. I don't know what that means. What you mean? Like,
Mark,
so the things we're talking about. I think he's talking about everything we've talked about. I think is what he's saying. In which case, I think it's
because I'm depressed.
Oh man,
I can't function anymore. Now I gotta come on here every week and do it again. That's
Oh my
why,
gosh.
Mark. That's why everything's changed because I'm sad on the inside.
he's dead on the inside.
I'm dead and sad on the inside, Mark.
I think
That's everything.
Well, so Mark, everything changes over time, right? It was not something that was intentional. It just kind of happened. But to Greg's point and stuff, like we probably need to take a look at the things that people really enjoyed and try to bring them back. I guess. I mean, I just hadn't really thought too much about it. We did have a lot of fun when we first started out. I think we just kind of found a different groove, but maybe our new groove isn't the groove that we need to be in. I don't know.
I think it's because we had people like Renee on, and I was like, "Oh no, Renee!
Oh, we want to get more serious.
I can't be foolish in front of Renee." And then maybe it changed. I don't know. But Renee liked the foolishness, so who knows?
He did, yeah.
I just think there was a lot of news to cover, and the news discussions are always interesting. It's not like GadgetCast was never that either. It was just more of a combination of both. And I was just kind of noticing that when I was looking back at older episodes, like, I used to actually plan. I would message Travis like an hour before the show. It's like, wait till you see what I'm going to do on the show. And it's like, I kind of forgot about doing that. Like I had more energy thinking about those ideas sometimes where I just haven't done that recently. And we came up with some bits behind the scenes that were kind of funny. Like the I Just Seen surprise that like Travis didn't tell me anything about that. And that was crazy. I just came on one day and there was I Justine. She's like, I watched your video. And I'm like, oh no, why?
Oh, appreciate you, Katya. That's really nice of you to say. I appreciate that. I Justine surprise was good. Yeah, Justine surprise was great. But yeah, that's really great. Should I make a video version of the GadgetCast intro? Don't we already have that? What do you mean? The music?
You gonna make us an intro?
Sure. Yeah, if you want to, sure. Why not? I mean, we'll take a look at it for sure. I even stopped wearing we have shirts. We have GadgetCast shirts. We haven't worn them forever. What is wrong with us? I'm going to wear my GadgetCast shirt next time.
I'm sitting on a GadgetCast shirt idea that would sell out, I think.
Really?
How confident is that?
That is very confident.
I feel like how many people are watching this stream? Hold on.
50 something.
I feel like these 50 something people would all buy the shirt and make us millionaires.
Really? I'm up for it.
Mm-hmm. Andrew says bring the fun back. So tall order. All
right. That's a good point. I mean, we don't have to just be can you send him the intro?
No.
Yeah, well, there's your answer.
If you don't have the technical prowess to rip the intro, I don't think you deserve to make art.
I think, but you talk over it is the problem in every episode.
Well, so if you don't got the editing prowess to remove my voice, how can we trust this? Why would you take my voice out of the intro? Isn't that the best part? No. Send me like a DM and maybe send me a DM. Do you have Twitter? Right? Twitter DM, and I'll send you the music or email me.
You always talk exactly. If not about doing some Genius Party, I mean, we asked them. It's not up to us. It's up to them to figure it out. Like it's ridiculous.
We were supposed to do something with them actually, Mark.
No,
and
we were.
Plans fell apart. So
he doesn't have Twitter. What do you have besides YouTube?
Just email me. Go to my YouTube. Look at my email, and go email me there. Say I want the intro music, and then I'll reply back with it.
How much do you think you're selling to make you a millionaire 50x? I know. How much? Sell them at $50,000 each.
50,000 each. That's you guys got it. GadgetCast fans are rich. I know that for a fact.
Oh my god. Yeah. So just go to his YouTube channel and you'll see everything there. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining us. It's dinner time out here. People are gonna start knocking on my door and annoying the piss out of me. So I need to get out of here. I hope everyone has a really great weekend. Greg, do what you do. We'll see you guys and gals next time. Peace and love.
Maybe next time it'll be fun. So no promises.
Hopefully. Yeah, no promises. We're not fun anymore.